Good morning, welcome. We're going to jump right into the program because we have a packed morning. So it is my honor and pleasure to introduce the CEO of the Gavin Foundation and really the organization behind the Bridge Recovery Center. Please give a warm welcome to John McGahan.
Thank you for that introduction. Welcome everybody to the Bridge Recovery Center ribbon cutting. And I'm going to have to do a few thank yous, so please bear with me because this just didn't happen all on its own. There was a lot of people involved in making the center open. But before I do, I just want to do a couple of housekeeping pieces. One, bathrooms are upstairs, so just go upstairs and they're in the hallway. When we go inside, we are DPH funded, so there is a mask mandate, so there's masks at the top of the stairs. I don't want to forget anybody, so I want to thank Jimmy McRae and my Director of Operations and the people that are going to do all the cooking for us. Right. I want to thank the Bridge Recovery Center's volunteers for decorating the tables and setting up all the other satellite things, the giveaway bags and everything else. And most importantly, I want to thank Gerry and Cacavaro for the work that she does here. Normally at a ribbon cutting ceremony, nothing's been done yet. The amount of work that's gone on in that building has been amazing through COVID, and since COVID restrictions have been lifted, she's done a fantastic job putting all kinds of events together here and really having members and people in the community and the recovery community involved. So I want to really congratulate her and her team on the work that they've done here. And as we all know, none of these things happen without money. And so I want to thank Senator Lewis and the regional delegation for supporting our efforts to secure funding for the center here in Malden. And thank you very much. And we've all heard the term NIMBY, right? Not my backyard. Well, Malden's got a mayor that he should be proud of because he stood up for the people in the recovery community and stood next to us and said, this is something that should happen in the city of Malden. It wouldn't have. And I want to thank the Malden community in general because we did do some educational forums via online, of course, but they stood with us. Once they learned what we were doing and what this was all about, they jumped on board and said, this is something that we want to have here. And then, since we've opened, the business community has gone out and fundraised to do things here for the members of the Senate here. And to have the business community jump on board so early in a process like this is something to really be proud of. So we want to thank the business community, the local business community. And then to cite one of these is one thing, but then to find someplace where the people that own the building and the property want you in it is another story. Believe me, as somebody who runs programs all across the state, it's not easy. So I want to thank Mark Gattineri for working with us to actually And then my last thank you is, well, I have one other one. One of my board members here, Ian Casey, is here somewhere on our way here. for my board for allowing us to stretch even further outside of Boston, yet again to help another community. So I want to thank my own board for that. And then the last thing that I want to briefly say is, look, we all know Paul Hammersley, right? And Malden overcoming addiction. There was no doubt that he was not going to let this happen. He was the driving force behind saying, we've got to get this done, we've got to get this done. So his board, Paul, they deserve all the credit for getting this done, because without his stamina and just, I mean, his drive to get this done, those of you that know him know exactly what I'm talking about, right? He was not going to let it drop. So, I want to thank Paul. And before I turn the mic over, I just want to say briefly, what the mission of the Bridge Recovery Center is. It's to help people it's a bridge from darkness to dignity. Let's face it, when people come through the doors of treatment, they're not feeling well about themselves, they're not feeling good about their situation. But when they come to the Bridge Recovery Center, there's going to be a warm hand here for them. A soft ear, somebody that's going to listen to them. And that's what the Bridge Recovery Center is going to do. They're going to help people through those tough days and help them to maintain their recovery. And so I'm very proud of the work that the team has done so far and will do moving forward. So I hope everybody has a good afternoon, and thank you.
Thank you, John. And I was laughing as he was struggling to come up with the words to describe Paul, because we all know what you were thinking and wanted to say, but it's a family event. So. Because so many in the recovery community bring faith to the table, not everyone, but many do, we thought it would be appropriate to have a blessing this morning. So it's my honor to introduce Pastor Gerry Whetstone of the Church of the Nazarene of Malden.
It is very challenging to invite a pastor up to a microphone, isn't it not? But I do consider this an honor, and in my directing of the Malden Warming Center, Paul and I work very closely together, as does the city, and many of the guests of the Warming Center now have access to resources that they did not have before, and that excites me. And it's an honor to ask a blessing upon it. So I invite you to join me, those that would like to join me in prayer. Oh God, we come to you today to celebrate the reality of the Bridge, this recovery center in Malden, Massachusetts. We come recognizing that addiction is not overcome alone. It can only be overcome in community. And we thank you for a city and a community that believes and understands that, and does not reject those who are wrestling under addictions, but rather embraces them and is willing to come to their aid. Thank you for a state and a city that sees the need and is ready to enable a community, but we recognize that we also need help from above. And so we seek your blessing upon the Bridge, upon every person, every volunteer, and upon especially every individual that walks through the door. May they find the community that will help them to overcome and to find freedom from this addictions, whatever it might be. We thank you that you are standing ready in love and in grace and in mercy to assist us. and we acknowledge the need of that assistance and ask you to bless richly the bridge and everyone involved. Thank you, O God, for hearing our prayer. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. And the gentleman who needs no introduction, he is the outstanding mayor of the city of Malden, our mayor, Gerry Christenson. There is no doubt in my mind that we are here today because of someone's vision, determination, and belief that bringing a recovery center to our community would save lives. They say that vision without action is just a dream. Action without vision just passes the time. And vision with action can change the world. Thank you, Paul Hammersley, for never giving up on your dream of the Bridge Recovery Center by not only taking action to make it happen, but also for inspiring all of us who are here today to help make it a reality as well. I can, round of applause for this gentleman. I can still remember, like it was yesterday, when Paul came into my office with a plea for help. He was full of energy and passion, and you know what that means. There was pacing, the fidgeting, and he was going a mile a minute. It was then that Paul made it clear that we needed to start doing something to fight the opioid epidemic that was raging all around us. He talked about the loss of life, the heartache, and the pain that was occurring right here in Malden. At the time, there was no Malden Overcoming Addiction. We didn't have an addiction recovery resource specialist on staff to guide us. And quite honestly, I didn't even know what a recovery center was. It was during that conversation that Paul mentioned his vision of bringing this needed resource to our community. I am proud to stand here today and say that idea became a collective vision that brought us all together. From our state delegation and city council to local businesses, John McGahan and the Gavin Foundation, Hank Kiza and the Baird Foundation, the idea culminated people from different backgrounds, different professions, and with different stories uniting as one to make this ribbon cutting possible. And it wasn't easy, but despite years of disappointment and challenges, the passion and energy never subsided, even when Fox 25 News got involved. For those of you who don't know, Paul and I did an interview promoting the importance of the Bridge Recovery Center's peer-to-peer model, and they used it as the lead story to say that methadone mile was coming to Malden. Paul, you remember that day, right? I think he must have had at least 10 Red Bulls just to keep up with all the posts, the comments, the questions, and the phone calls. Thank you to Paul and everyone for getting us through that and making the Bridge Recovery Center a reality. As they say, all bridges can be crossed. So do not give up. I am confident that this bridge will bring hope, help, and encouragement to so many on their road to recovery. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know we have a number of speakers today, but I do want to recognize folks in the audience who are supporting us, who are not speaking today. We have my state representative, Kate Lipper-Garabedian, who's here with us tonight. We have our fire chief and member of our opioid task force, Bill Sullivan, here today. We have our police captain, Glenn Cronin, who behind the scenes does a lot of work in supporting our recovery community. Captain Cronin. We have another member of our task force, member of the school committee, Adam Weldy is here today. And another member of our school committee, Jen Spadafora, who is here today. And I apologize if I missed anyone, and if I did, I will be reprimanded when I get behind. Senator Jason Lewis is here to speak with us today, and he has been a real rock in making sure this happens.
Thank you, Dana. I see a few of you have tears in your eyes. It's a very emotional day, and I feel that as well. I can't remember exactly when Paul Hammersley first approached me to discuss the idea of creating a peer-to-peer recovery center here in Malden. I think it was probably about 5 years ago. And I'll admit, I had no idea what Paul was talking about. But what I did know is I had great respect for Paul and for Malden overcoming addiction. And I did understand the vital work that they were doing in the community to help those struggling with the disease of addiction. The more we talked and the more I learned from Paul and others about how effective recovery centers are in helping people to overcome addiction, stay sober, and rebuild their lives and their families, the more committed I became to helping Paul to realize his vision. Substance use disorder is a terrible disease that can strike any family or any community. Tragically, as you know, we have lost so many lives, particularly young lives, to opioid overdoses in recent years. And things are even worse over the past year. But, like most other illnesses, substance use disorder can be treated. And peer-to-peer recovery centers are a key part of this treatment. They provide the necessary supports that are so critical to keeping those in recovery from relapsing. When we first began discussing the idea of opening a recovery center in Malden, there were only 10 such centers in all of Massachusetts. In fact, the first recovery center in the entire country opened here in Massachusetts. The closest recovery center to Malden was the Divine Center in South Boston, operated by the Gavin Foundation. So our legislative delegation went to work to advocate for more funding for recovery centers in the budget for the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. Took some time, but we were successful in securing this increased funding, which then enabled DPH to issue a request for proposals for new recovery centers in underserved parts of the state. Wisely, Malden Overcoming Addiction decided to team up with the Gavin Foundation, which, as I mentioned, operates the Divine Center, in preparing their proposal for the Bridge Recovery Center. This process was highly competitive, with DPH receiving far more proposals than they could fund, because as we all know, the need is great across the entire Commonwealth. But Malden Overcoming Addiction and the Gavin Foundation made a compelling case, and they presented a strong plan for operating the Bridge Recovery Center, including, and very importantly, widespread community support from elected leaders, civic leaders, and the population at large. And that made us successful in securing the necessary grant funding of $400,000 annually to operate the center. I want to thank my legislative colleagues who made this possible. State Representative Steve Altrino, State Representative Paul Donato, Representative Kate Lippick-Arabedian, and our former colleague and now Mayor of Melrose, Paul Brodeur. Let's give them a round of applause. I too want to acknowledge and thank Mayor Gerry Christenson for his incredible leadership. There's no doubt this would not be happening today without the mayor's leadership and the support of his team. And I want to give them another round. And of course, Maria Louise. The mayor's right and left hand. And a number of other elected officials from the region who also stepped up to support the Recovery Center. A huge thank you and deep gratitude to John McGahan and the Gavin Foundation for your tremendous partnership. I got to know John a number of years ago, and believe me, he and the Gavin Foundation have their hands full with what they're already doing. But despite that, they said, yes, we will help you. We will take this project on together, so thank you. And of course, you know who I saved for last. Paul Hammersley. And along with Paul, everybody involved with Malden Overcoming Addiction. Because we know Paul's leadership is incredible, but it takes the whole team. Paul's dream of one day opening a peer-to-peer recovery center in Malden, and his tireless efforts, along with all the other MOA volunteers, made this day possible today. I'm just so grateful to have been able to work with you. Thank you. Let me just say as an aside, we're rightly celebrating Paul today. And probably many of you know Paul, a bit about Paul's life story. He's traveled a very, very hard road to get to where he is today. And Paul is rightly a hero. But I would add that there are many sitting out here today and beyond who are also in the recovery community, who've struggled with addiction and many other life challenges, and you have overcome them or you're fighting to overcome them. And in my mind, you are heroes as well. So I want to give all of you a round. Despite the COVID pandemic, the Bridge Recovery Center still managed to open last year, and as you know already, has quickly become an amazing community resource. Thank you so much to Director Carrie Ann Acavaro and Assistant Director Anthony Mancini. Together with the other center employees and all of the volunteers, we greatly appreciate your hard work and your dedication. Thank you. All right, just about done. It is not an overstatement to say, as the mayor did, that the Bridge Recovery Center will save lives. One day, when I'm retired and look back on my career, one of my proudest moments, without a doubt, will be that I was able to be part of the team that made this possible. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Chairman Lewis. Next up, our Representative Stephen Altrino.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. Just two quick things, because you didn't come here to listen to speeches. You came to enjoy the festivities and see what this great place has to offer. But, you know, for the last 15 minutes or so, there was, oh, thanks to the team, the delegation, the donors. That's all well and good, but that's our job. It's our job to fight for funding to help people, no matter who they are, what their needs are. But the real thanks goes to those who volunteer and staff this place. Those are the people that will get the benefit of what we were able to get for funding and then make it work to help people. So I appreciate the thanks, but it's part of my job, it's part of my promise to you is to help those, whether they're in recovery, whether they need assistance with something. And it's the volunteers, the staff, the thinkers and the doers of this place that we do. And lastly, you may not know, but before the mayor became mayor and before I became state representatives, we worked at the Middlesex Sheriff's Office. Gerry was the money guy, the budget director, under the late Sheriff DePaula and current Sheriff Katusian, and I was the director of education and training. And the men in our custody, unfortunately, many there because of addiction issues. Many. And my job was to get as many programs while they're incarcerated so that when they left, they were able to create a new life. And one of the biggest problems, because I also did re-entry for a while, was where do we go? What's the support network if we don't have family or friends or belong to a church? Do we just go back to our addiction, to our gang members? And even when the late Sheriff DePaula was alive, we talked about the need for things like this. But now we don't have to talk about it. It's actually a reality, and I'm proud to have played a very small part in making this here today. Thank you.
I've never got to introduce a Melrose mayor before. Pretty good. Melrose mayor, but formerly my state representative, Paul Brodeur.
For those of you who don't remember me, I'm Paul Brodeur. Used to be the state rep of the best part of Malden, 4 to 5 precinct 2. If you don't remember me, it is because my successor has really taken the ward by storm. My good friend Kate Garabedian, a proud citizen of North Malden like myself, very much delighted to be here, and delighted that Dana Brown never decided to run for the State House, so I would not be here today, that is for sure. And I can tell you, part of the heart out of being mayor, pandemic, and all the other things that go along for it is sometimes you feel like you're out on an island. But I can tell you, Mayor Christenson has been a mentor to me and mayors and municipal officials across the Commonwealth helping us get through this. So believe me when I tell you, his influence extends far beyond the borders of your city. And Mr. Hammersley, not just the best haircut in Malden for sure, and all the amazing things he's done. Let's not forget, he also became a daddy during all of this, which is a pretty awesome thing. So really, what haven't you taken on, and what haven't you done extraordinarily well at? Really is, I can't say enough. I can't say enough. It's meant to be personally. You think of him as a Malden guy, and rightly so. But when I have needed resources for the city of Melrose, either just an ear or a program to be identified, or whatever the case may be, Paul has been there. Paul has been on our cable access. He's done podcasts, and he's connected to folks whenever they need him. And I suspect there are plenty of other people outside of Melrose that can say that same story. So Paul, thank you for your work, and thank you for your continuing work. So this place, what is going to be so special about this place? And Steve really talked about it, but we know addiction is a struggle that involves the addiction itself, but it involves employment, it involves housing, it involves health care, it includes all the supports that folks need to do a little bit better than they did the day before. And when folks confront these things, and when their families confront these things, as Steve said, they don't have a roadmap. They don't know where to go. They know they have a problem, and if you have experienced this yourself, or you've experienced it with family or friends, as almost everyone has, the simple idea that there's someone here to help, that there's a place you can go, that you don't have to throw your hands up, that you don't have to go through it alone, that's incredibly powerful. And any small part I have in that, as Jason said, really a highlight of my legislative career, and it's a resource that I know will be there for folks throughout the region. So looking forward to a ribbon cutting and to folks getting inside and seeing the good work happen. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our very supportive and energetic police chief, Kevin Molis.
Thank you, Dana, everybody here. It's a real honor and a privilege for me to stand here as the police chief, because in doing so, I get to represent your police department. And it's been a little lost in the narrative that has gone around that the police fundamentally have a mission of saving lives. And that's something that I don't need constant reminders of, but even this morning when I was working, I was aware of police officers intervening in a situation of a suicidal person, doing their best to resolve that situation through crisis intervention and finding the necessary services. But that's something that police officers do each and every day, and it's something that I'm very proud of. And the thing that really means a lot to me today is I can stand before you all and say this is something that I supported three ways. First of all, as your police chief. Second of all, as a citizen of Malden. And third of all, as your neighbor, because I live just down the street. So all of those three characteristics, of which I'm undeserving and proud of, all allowed me to support this in those three ways. So when Paul asked me to speak, I did what I typically do. I don't prepare, but what I did a little while ago. The word bridge kept coming back to me.
What is a bridge? The oldest working bridge in the world right now dates back to 850 BC. It is still used in Turkey. The longest bridge in the world right now is 105 miles long. It's in China. And how a bridge is constructed. There are forces that work against bridges. The two main forces are tension and compression. So when somebody designs a bridge, they have to think of the forces that work against it. Compression and tension. And also environmental factors. The wind, the weather, the weight. How is it going to withstand all of those pressures? So bridges are constructed with great care, with great detail, because they know it is very important that the foundation and the strength of that bridge remains strong and holds fast when all of the turbulences of life take place. And that's what this is. It's a bridge. It is a bridge that is designed to help people navigate all of those forces, all of those tensions, all of those compressions, all of the storms. It is there for them. And that's what it represents. The same way when you cross a bridge and you're unaware of all of the things that went into it. That's what this is. It is a bridge for people to cross from one point to another. And the beauty of this is they do not cross alone. So in closing, I did one other thing in my research. I looked towards scripture about references to bridges. And I found something from the prophet Isaiah. And this is what he said. Then they will rebuild the ancient ruins. They will raise up the former devastations. And they will repair ruined cities, the desolations of many generations. And that's what you're going to do. And for that, I'm grateful as a police chief, as a resident of Malden, and as your neighbor. Thank you.
I've known the chief for over 30 years, and I always feel like I've left a college seminar after he's given this speech. I learned so much. Thank you, Chief. And by the way, I just want to shout out to the parents who brought their young ones here today. It's exciting to see the kids running around, having a good time. Let them do it. We want them here. We want them part of this. So thank you. And before I hand the mic over to our last speaker, I do want to say to John and to Kerry Ann and to MOA, we do have our next t-shirt and sweatshirt that we'll deliver shortly. Your term, Darkness to Dignity, just shouts out hooded sweatshirts, and we'll make sure everyone gets those. So thank you. This gentleman, it feels like a toast and a roast here today for Paul Hammersley. I know he has a lot to say. So without further ado, the Malden addiction specialist and our MOA president and really the leader behind the birth of the Bridge Center, Paul Hammersley.
So my name is Paul, and I'm a person in recovery. And what that means for me is I haven't drank alcohol, and I haven't used any mood or mind-altering substances since April 23rd, 2003. And I just want to thank everybody for being here today. I feel like I'm dreaming right now. Like any minute, my alarm is going to go off and wake me back into reality. This day has been a long time coming. I remember back in 2013, when MOA first started meeting, Mayor Christenson stopped me after one of the meetings and he asked me, "What's your end game?" And I thought about it for a minute and I said, a building. A building where people can come together and work on their recovery. I had no idea at that time that recovery centers would soon become a thing. But I was so excited about this idea of a building, I began to relentlessly talk about this idea to anyone who would listen to me. Thankfully, there was a lot of really amazing people who took the time to listen. And before I knew it, Senator Jason Lewis, Mayor Gerry Christenson, State Reps Stephen Altrino, Paul Brodeur, Paul Donato were just as excited about this idea as I was. I am beyond thankful to them for not only their support and advocacy, but for their full invested belief that recovery is possible for everyone. This building would not be here if not for their tireless work and devotion. So thank you. Once we had gained the support of our local leaders, MOA Treasurer Dominic Desario and I decided to take our idea on tour. We had a banner made with our Bridge Recovery Center logo, and we proudly brought it everywhere we went. That banner traveled from local parks and events to the State House and everywhere in between, helping pave the way for blossoming conversations and growing understanding of the recovery within our community. This is where my utmost thanks to Mayor Christenson and Senator Lewis comes in. They stood by MOA and our dream of the center, never doubting it, never taking their foot off the gas, even after we were denied not once, but twice applying for funding. I can honestly say, if it wasn't for their unwavering support and encouragement, I may have thrown in the towel. But thankfully, while Dom and I tried to figure out our next steps, these two continued to champion the cause and together came up with an idea that essentially helped secure the funding. They suggested that MOA take on a partner. They were there every step of the way as Dom and I pitched the idea to the Gavin Foundation CEO, John McGahan, who thankfully agreed to lend his name and his knowledge to the next bridge application. John, thank you, not for just believing in us and our dream, but for taking a chance on it. Our Malden and local recovery community now has a much better chance of avoiding relapse, and for that, I can't possibly thank you enough. Without you, there is no bridge. You will forever hold a special place in my heart. I would be amiss not to also publicly thank my amazingly supportive and beautiful wife, Lisa. Thank you for always encouraging me, inspiring me, and for always being on the same page with me in believing that life truly is about what we do for others. I love you. Most importantly, the person I need to thank for helping me make this dream a reality is Dominic Desario. Dom was the treasurer of MOA, but also he was my sponsor, my mentor, and my friend. Dominic's calm and logical ways were the perfect balance to my intense and energetic personality. Together we were a force to be reckoned with. I know I am not always the easiest person to work with, but Dom got me. We were forever connected in our visions for recovery, forever partners on this dream we shared of opening the Bridge Recovery Center. Thank you, Dom, for working alongside me to make this happen. Thank you also to Dom's wife, Deborah, for being here today. Your presence means the world to me. We did it, Dommy. We did it. As you partake in today's tours of the facility, please take a moment to stop and view the beautiful mosaic tribute to our forever friend Dominic. Tours will be led by the Bridge Recovery Center Director, Kerry Ann Carcavaro, as well as other dedicated Bridge employees and volunteers. I would like to thank each of them for all the amazing work that they are doing at the center. Please give it up to every employee and member of the Bridge Recovery Center. I know it wasn't easy getting up and running in the middle of a pandemic, but they made it happen, and they made it happen big. Fantastic job, Kerry Ann, Anthony, and every crew and member of the BRC. And lastly, I just want to thank each and every person who took the time out to be here today. Thank you for being part of my recovery story, and thank you for being part of my dream come true. And one more person. So right near, when we were going to open, we had hit a roadblock, and there was an issue of some funding and a build out in the building, and we didn't really know what to do. It was right near the end, and I openly here today, I need to thank the Baird Foundation and Mr. Hank Beezer right here. Hank made the build out happen, and Hank's generosity, the Bridge Recovery Center is here. Thank you.
See, I told you I'd get the reprimand. Teasing. So we also have some other city officials who have joined us today. We have Councilor at Large Steve Winslow, who's here today. Ward 1 City Councilor Peg Crow is here today. We have another school committee member, Michelle Wand, who's here with us today. At this time, we'll ask everybody who's up front, along with Kerry Ann and her staff, to join us for the ribbon cutting. Let the games begin. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for a great morning.
pictures. Don't count. I mean, I'm sorry. Don't cut at first. I'll let you know when we're gonna cut. Let's get a photo first. Looking right here. Yep. For the first one right here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Everyone looks amazing. And then one more on 3. We'll cut it. Okay?
Yep.
1,